ready?
Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy
Come here.
day.
Come here and stand over here.
When Jesus washed. When Jesus washed. When Jesus washed. When Jesus washed. Jesus washed. When Jesus washed. Washed my sins away.
Y'all gonna have to do better than this.
Oh, happy day.
All right, you guys, take your cue from me.
La 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 Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. When Jesus was. When Jesus was.
welcome to VidDevoChurch. Has it only been a week? Wow, what a week. This last week for me has been totally exciting, amazing, completely beautiful, wonderful, and invigorating in the sense of I got a chance to spend some time with my family and to have one of my sisters visit me from Oregon. Now, I was going to record her, but unfortunately she decided that she would rather not be promoted or talked about on the internet, so I'll talk about her. She's one of those types of people that doesn't like to have her name out there or her picture promoted because she's fearful of the internet. She's conservative. She's aware that, yeah, on the one hand, we tell everyone about Jesus, but on the other hand, we do things behind the scenes. Sometimes those things that other people will observe, but not necessarily be one of those preacher types. When you wanted a preacher, you came to me. So it's been fun to see what my sister and my brother-in-law has been like since the last time we saw them, because it's been a while. I don't call my sister or respond to phone calls often, although one pastor probably thinks I always do, because every time he called, I'd answer. And every time he called, he wanted something. So I was always a little bit surprised that the only reason he called was when he wanted something, and he never called just to visit. But that's okay. You see, all things work together for good to those that love the Lord and are called according to His purposes. All things. Now, you may not think of everything as being good, but that's the answer to why bad things happen to good people. There's no such thing as bad things happening to God's people. As a matter of fact, the bad things and the good things were already predicted. They were already planned for. They were already compensated. One of the things I like about that scripture is that it is the answer to that book that says, why do bad things happen to good people? And then you always hear Christians buy into it because they think somehow they have to answer that it's a bad thing. Well, I looked at the question and said, no, it's a good thing. So there's really no bad thing happening here. There's good things happening. Whether you understand something that's a tragedy or in your own perspective being something you don't like, that doesn't mean from God's perspective it doesn't work out for good. All things work together for good to those that love the Lord and are called according to their purposes. Because in that, when we understand that, that means that life itself is an object lesson. We are the object, God is giving us a lesson. We are being taught to grow and to develop as people, learning those things that God would have us to do, learning those things that God would have us to appreciate. I know for myself, I can look around and say, wow, look at this beautiful place that people would say, well, what are you doing out there? As people drive by. And I'd say, well, I'm sharing Jesus. What else? This is VidDevoChurch. And if it rains, like if it started raining, we'd go across the street to Hatch Park, and we'd go inside underneath the canopies that have been provided. And freely we've received, so freely we give. So we go out and we enjoy what God has provided for us. We have opportunity to make it warmer for those that come and assemble themselves together. We make it available to those who want to enjoy the fellowship of the Spirit by praying for them and having who knows what God may do for them. But in and of itself, most of the time when people assemble together, they think they have to have a church building. Well, maybe you do for what you do. But for what we do, we don't need that. We broadcast around the world, and we do it free. We broadcast everywhere. We don't need any tithing. As a matter of fact, God is the one who declared that you don't need to do anything except to be receiving what He is giving. Matter of fact, if you just take in what God is giving out, you'll be surprised it'll change you. I know because I can talk about my sister and my brother-in-law, and I've seen them change over the years. I left them alone in their small town environment. In the place where they grew up and where they have their ministry, I didn't bother talking to them. I didn't bother bothering them or even being involved in some of the day-to-day, everyday decisions they have to make. A lot of times in ministries, I have to do that same thing. Allow the ministry to grow in the way that it'll go. Because if you try to interrupt, you're either going to get bit, yelled at, barked at, stomped on, pooped on, or in some way treated like a dog, because most of the time, immaturity is manifested by the type of environment that the person finds themselves when you provoke them. Will they respond in loving kindness, or will they say, I've been provoked? Well, that's why today we're going to look at all day long. All things work together for good to those that love the Lord and are called according to His purpose. Now that all is just like what Jesus said. I don't know about you, but all means all. Does all mean some things? No. Does all mean a few things? No. Does all mean all things? Well, I have, as it were, beginning to rain, I have on my body right now big band-aids here and on my hip, because it has been fun going out with my brother-in-law and experiencing different areas of Utah that have rides and different things you can do. But once they left, my wife's daughter was going up to Oktoberfest, and that's up in Snowbird. And Snowbird has these long bobsled rides that you can go on. Well, I jumped on one of those bobsled rides, and as I was going down, I decided, it has a handbrake, that you can control the speed. Well, nobody told me that you have to slow it down for the curves, which, common sense would say, of course you have to. Well, I'm from Disneyland. We want to speed up the curves, take them at a slide, and everything. I didn't know that, this wasn't child-proofed or adult-proof, so I pushed the bobsled brake all the way forward and kept it forward. So about the time I hit my second curve, bingo, boom, 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 boom. It spilled me and rolled 3 or 4 times, stayed on the track, and then just was upright. Well, I wasn't. I banged my head alongside of the track. I hit that track. I scraped up. I got road rash. And it hurt. I'm getting old for this kind of stuff. But it was fun. And that's one of the things that it reminded me of, how all things work together for good to those that love the Lord and are called according to purpose. This rain in and of itself gives me a chance to go over to Hatch Park because it's starting to rain. It's going to give me an opportunity to prepare for the ministry for in the winters when it snows. But you see, today it's 72 degrees and it's raining, so I'm going, I love the rain. It's beautiful. It's wonderful what it does in refreshing the smells that you hear or you smell from the asphalt or the cement. It smells invigorating. It smells enveloping. It's one of those things that I'm glad that God causes the sun to shine and the rain to fall on the wicked and the good. Because you see, I don't know anybody that's really good, but I do know a lot of wicked people. And I know that Jesus said that there weren't really anyone good except His Father. But you know what God intended when He said that scripture. It meant that, hey, every day things are going to happen. How you deal with them is the way that it determines whether or not the Spirit of God is leading you or whether you're being led by your own flesh, your own circumstance, your own determination that, oh no, I don't like the rain, that's miserable. Because you see, that's sometimes what happens when Christians get together. They see one another coming from a different perspective. They don't understand always how God is doing something. They only see what they understand, what they're doing. So one of the things that we read today is that we know that all things work together for good to those that love the God and are called according to His purpose. Surely the wrath of man shall praise Thee. The remainder of wrath shalt Thou restrain. Yea, though evil thought be against me, but God meant it unto good. All things are yours, whether the world or life or death, or things present or things to come. All are yours. And you are Jesus's, and Jesus's is God's. All things are for your sake, that the abundant grace might through the thanksgiving of many redound to the glory of God. For which cause we faint not, but through our outward man perish, yet the inward man is renewed day by day. For our light affliction is but for a moment. but it receives an exceeding and eternal weight of glory. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into divers trials and tribulations, knowing that the working of your faith produces patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that you might be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. Many times, I talk about Romain, a man of God, who taught us that, hey, if it's rain, get wet. In other words, just because you don't feel good doesn't mean you cancel a service. Just because it's raining doesn't mean you don't go outside or you go inside in order to have a service. What it means is that you get to enjoy the rain. The same thing is true about those circumstances in life that are confronting you. Whether it's a cancer, whether it's the death of a loved one, whether it's life or death or principalities or powers, whether it be your job or loss of a job, whether it be the blessings or the curses. All these things are yours. God brought them to you in order for you to deal with them and to learn from them. He has given you His Spirit. So because He has given you His Spirit, all these things will work out for good. Now, temporarily, you may not see it. Joseph is a perfect example of how it took some time before finally Joseph was put in the place where God intended him to be. But he had to be prepared for that. He had to go through circumstances. A lot of times people in ministry think that just because it's a church, it's automatically arrived at where it's meant to be. I got news for you. Churches have their baby years, their terrible twos, their 5-year-old stages, they're fumbling and bumbling, they're trying 20s. It takes time, even with Chuck Smith, for Chuck to be ready, for eventually Calvary Chapel to be birthed and to grow from the blessings that God had used upon Chuck's life in order to bring it to the Jesus people. The same thing is true about those who came from Chuck's ministry. It took time for them to grow up. Not everything they did was right, but not everything they do is wrong. But God makes all of it work together for good. So you see, there's always in your church, whether you're there and you're frustrated, or whether you're there and you're aggravated, whether you're there and you're blessed, things are working together for good to those that love the Lord and are called according to His purpose. All things, not some things, not a few things, not only the rain, but also the sunshine. Not only the no canopy, but the openness of the air. Because you see, when you look at the clouds, you can see that, yeah, there's some high clouds, and it's going to rain. But if you've lived in Utah long enough, you go, yeah, it's going to rain for a little while. But you know what? Sunset is coming. It's going to rain for a little bit, 40%. Yeah, it might pour down rain, might get a flash flood. But before the sun goes down, you'll see the clouds breaking. By golly, it's Utah. That sun will come out before it sets. And I've lived here about a year, and I've realized that hey, there's an interesting thing about living in the valley, underneath the shadow of the Wasatch Mountain Range. God causes the sun to shine, one way or another. And I've always been blessed by that, because that year that I took examining how things worked here in Utah, I kind of went, that's amazing to me. That's outrageously wonderful to be able to have a window facing the east or the west, so that way the sunset will eventually come out and my plants will benefit from it. So I could have plants that need sunshine facing that window, and sure enough, all winter long they survived. And then this summer they took off. That might be what you're going through. You might be experiencing something in life you're not prepared for. Something your church maybe doesn't support you with. Or you haven't been involved with them in it and they don't understand what's going on in your life. And you might have to be alone for a season. You might have to go through circumstances where God sent you someplace you don't know what to do. And yet God is with you. And yet, as we read in the scripture, God says it will work out. Don't panic. Don't worry. I've heard so many people talk about how 9/11 did this and did that, and where were you in 9/11? I have no idea. I didn't care. Didn't do any effect on me. I didn't have any hangover from 9/11. I mean, 9/11's been a long time ago. Things were happening when I grew up, like, when I went to school, I had to freeze. Because when the siren went off, it could be a nuclear bomb. Living in California, it could have been the Great Earthquake. It was a disaster, so we had disaster drills. And you know what? It worked out for good. I learned not to panic because Chicken Little used to run around saying the sky is falling. Now, eventually the sky will fall, but not yet. Eventually the rain will come, but not yet. Eventually we do have to take shelter from the storm, but not yet. When it's time, if we are children of God, led by the Spirit of God, then we hear God's voice. Then God tells us, look, get inside the shelter, it's going to pour. Look, go to the culvert in salvation and be saved because you're going to die. Look, get your house in order for tomorrow you'll be required of your soul. Jesus said all these things, and he told us how to be prepared for the times and the seasons that we live in. Because you were born for such a time as this, you should not be surprised by anything that happens in the world. ISIS and ISIL should not be a surprise. We did it. Al-Qaeda should not be a surprise. We did it. Everything that's happened in the world, we were involved in prior to its happening. God already knew that we would do things like that, trying to be the great white hope or whatever kind of hope we think we are. But you see, underneath it all, there was also people working already on salvation to those nations. People that are going there to offer them health care, to offer them a better way of life, to give them Jesus, because the fact is, politics can't solve your solution. Politics can't give you an opportunity to do something that you think that you're going to accomplish, something that you think that somehow you're going to change the world. You're not. Everybody knows that about politics. It's just an occupation where people are paid, and you think that it's going to make a big difference, and you see after about 10 years of life, no, it doesn't. It goes back to the same cycles over and over and over again. If you like hamsters, you get involved in politics, because you're going to see it do the same thing in 2017 and 16 that it did 8 years ago. Repetition over and over and over again. So I didn't like politics because pretty easily as a hippie I saw through it. I didn't like seeing some of the social causes because I saw they weren't meeting the needs of the people. But when I met Jesus, I saw someone who could change the world. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him would not perish, or should not, but have everlasting life. I saw someone who could change me, and that though I didn't understand it, I said, hey, if that's going to work out in the end, that I'm going to be presented faultless, and I'm going to be presented righteous, and I know me, because I'm not the best at following through with what I do all the time, then I want this thing you're giving me. I want this salvation you provided for me. I want to know that it's not up to me, but it's up to you to do your part, because I'll acknowledge my part right now. God, I can't do it. You take over. And that's what you need to do. You need to realize that you can't do it of yourself. In and of yourself, you can do nothing. But you can have God working all things together for good to those that love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. Because he can make everything in your life work out. No matter divorce, no matter death of a loved one, no matter your job, no matter that you killed someone or someone maimed you or hurt you or raped you or did whatever, molested you. Those things are irrelevant as far as God is concerned, because all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Everyone is a sinner. You may think some sin's greater or lesser, some gay person or some murderer or some liar or some thief or some righteous person is oh so much better until you see them fall. Everybody you see is fallen. Everyone you see was born in sin, conceived in sin, and dies in sin. For the reality of the nature of mankind is that it is a fallen nature. It has already been cursed. It cannot solve itself. It will never rise to the occasion that some of the religions of the world want to make you righteous. It can't happen. You need a new nature. You need to be changed from within, not from without. Everyone from without looks like they can do something. Guys with guns look like they're tough until you take away their gun. Whoops. People with education, when they put on a suit, like today I put on an overcoat so that it can be rained on. It's wool, it'll dry. But I look like I'm educated, or I look like I'm intelligent. Got you fooled, don't I? Okay, maybe I'm a little bit intelligent. But I look at the clouds. And say, oh my God, it's going to rain. And so it sprinkled a little bit and it stopped. And it's going to rain again. I can feel it. But knowing that the outward thing is not what's going on the inward, then we ought to look to the inside and ask God to abide with us, to take that nature of himself, the very Spirit of God that he promised us, and say, Holy Spirit, come into my life. Take over the inside, because on the outside, I am a mess. And I see it in the mirror, and people see it in me. So God, change me, make me, rearrange me, cause me to be born again. Take my life and let it be separated, Lord, to thee. That's the song that we used to sing. And one of the things about it was that it wasn't about being born again only, because that which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the Spirit is spirit. You must be born again. Doesn't mean that Nicodemus didn't completely understand it or only understood parts of it. What it means is that religious people have adopted it. In modern culture, everybody's heard of born again. When the Jesus movement came around, I didn't hear anybody say it at all. Matter of fact, Time magazine said God is dead. And I got news for you. My God's not. I don't know where everybody else's God is, but my God is causing all things in my life, including this road rash that I got beat up. I even got my cane out because my knee's so banged up that I can't walk without limping. But even that's working together for good, because it's slowing me down. It's causing me to realize to redeem the time. Yeah, there's things I like that are fun, but there's things I don't need to go do. I don't need to be an extreme sports nut, enthusiast, idiot, cool, challenged person that says, hey, I could use this extreme sports for God. Yeah, and you could get banged up and beat up and show your child what it can do. Your children watching you as an adult act like a child so that you can be childish in your ways. I'm sure those extreme sports are something that's very good for bicycle riders to make a lot of money acting like children. All things are lawful to me, but not all things are expedient. Yes, God can use that, but are you really using it for God? Good question. God will cause it to work together for good on all things, but we're going to look at the next service where not everything is expedient. Though all things are lawful to me, not everything is going to reap the harvest I want. Joseph himself, when he was looking at his life, said, hey, I got news for you, bros. Your wheat bowed down to me. Your harvest and the things you were doing were worshiping me. I don't know why, but I just thought I better share it with you, because after all, you're my brothers and I trust you. Not. They sold him into slavery. They said, who do you think you are, little man, telling me I'm going to bow down and worship you? You see, except that we trust in the Lord with all our heart, leaning not on our own understanding, but in all our ways acknowledging Him and letting Him direct our path, we really don't see all things work together for good. Not at the time we're going through it. We don't see all things work together for good to those that love the Lord. Not at the time that we're experiencing it. We don't see all things work together for good to those that love the Lord and are called according to His purpose, because we think we know God's purpose, and we don't. So really, we have to turn back. We have to go back. We have to get down on our knees and we have to say, Lord, and I can't bend down, otherwise I would. My knees are that banged up. It's bad. I can go about like that. That's it. Got to keep that knee straight right now. It's messed up. But all things work together for good to those that love the Lord, and He's the one who makes it work, not you. You don't put a spin on it and say, well, this was just the way it worked out and blah, blah, blah. No, you say, I don't know, but I trust in the Lord. I don't know, I'm a sinner. I don't know, I want you, God. I don't know, but I will give you control. You take over and you be God and I'll be your creation. So I want to humble myself so that you can lift me up. God, you live my life out for me and show me the way I should go. That's what it means to trust in the Lord with all thy heart. Lean not in your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him. He will direct your path. Because if He's directing your path, then all things will work together for good. Because God loves you and you love God. And according to the promise that He's given you, all of it's going to work together for good because you love the Lord. So let Him be Lord of your life. Let Him be Lord of circumstance. Let Him stop the rain. Let Him bring out the sunshine. Let Him show you in the midst of pain there is a solution, a salvation. In His will, in His time, and in His way.
We have often asserted, and we affirm it yet again, that no fact in history is better attested than the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. It must not be denied by any who are willing to pay the slightest respect to the testimony of their fellow men. That Jesus, who died upon the cross and was buried in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, did literally rise again from the dead.
This is a celebration. We're calling out to every nation to spread the word that Jesus